Hey, Grampian Nation, Jason Barnard is an expert at making Google focus on you. Hang on, we'll be right back with Jason, CEO of CaliCube on the Grampian.
In 2013, I coined the name Grampian, and I gave it to your host, Jim Tracy.
Jason, CEO of CaliCube, welcome to the Grampian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much, Jim.
Good. And where are you coming at us from today?
I'm coming in from the south of France, where it's warm and sunny and the food is good.
South of France. Well, that's awesome. Not many of my guests have been able to say that. You are the CEO of CaliCube, and you are an expert at making Google focus on an individual or a company or a process. Tell us a little bit more about that, because everybody wants the big G.
Right. Well, in fact, increasingly people want the big G and the big C, GPT. ChatGPT, that's now huge. And Google becoming AI, or more and more AI, Bing, Claude, Perplexity. So it's now Google and AI, we need to say. And it's all about educating AI algorithms to understand who you want to be presented as. So what's your brand narrative? Help them to understand how you want them to present you to the subset of their users who are your audience. And surprisingly, if you're clear about it and you're honest and you're consistent, they'll do it. They have no reason to present you any way other than the way you want to be presented, unless, of course, you're lying or you're hiding a horrible secret, but that's generally not the case.
Yeah. So when I read your bio, it says that you are a brand SERP. SERP spelled SERP. That's a term I was unfamiliar with. So can you help our audience and this old dude understand what that is?
Search engine results page. But in fact, it's less and less about search engine results page and more about conversations between the user, the person, and a machine like ChatGPT or AI mode in Google or Copilot or Perplexity. So what we're seeing is the idea of a search engine results page, like the traditional blue links that you saw on Google, is gradually disappearing and being replaced by a conversational interface where the machine is answering questions that the user has, sometimes implicit, sometimes explicit, to help them find the solution to their problem. Because search was always that. It was, I need the solution to a problem, and I use Google to find it on the web somewhere. And Google relatively sorts the well relatively well. And so I can use the search engine. But now, Google, Perplexity, ChatGPT can summarize the results and predict what your next question might be and save you a lot of time going through all those websites, figuring out where the answer might be, and potentially helping you to skip a couple of steps. So the whole paradigm has now shifted. And in this world, your aim as a person or a business is to have that machine introduce you to the conversation at the most opportune moment. And then when push comes to shove and the person says, well, who's going to solve this problem for me? Who should I pay to solve this problem for me? You want the machine to say, in my case, Jason Barnard.
and that's the goal, is to get them to focus in like a laser beam. How did you come across the idea, or did you have an experience that led to the development of this?
That's a lovely question today, because I've just gone through and said, like, the whole world has changed and the search engine results page no longer matters. And obviously it still is part of the game. But the reason I started doing this is such a long way away from all of that. Because when my previous job, was CEO and founder of an ed tech company called Up to 10. And it was huge. We were doing deals with Disney, with ITV International, with Radio Canada. We were making millions. And I had built this company, made it very, very successful. But part of my job was voiceover actor for a cartoon blue dog. That was the fun part of my day. And because on the web, the cartoon blue dog was very famous, but I, as the CEO and founder of Up to 10, the edtech company, was not famous, Google focused on the blue dog. So if you search my name in 2012, you said, who's Jason Barnard? It was, well, Jason Barnard is a Cartoon Blue Dog voiceover artist. And I thought, well, this is really bad. Now that I've exited that ed tech company, that's really bad for my future career as a digital marketer and the CEO of CaliCube, helping entrepreneurs with their personal brand.
Yeah.
And so I figured out the system to change Google's perspective. So I educated Google to understand that the Cartoon Blue Dog was not very important anymore, and that my role as CEO, founder, entrepreneur, and my role as a digital marketer today, specialized in personal branding, in search and AI, is the important part. And once I'd done that, I realized that I could do it for other people, and CaliCube was born, and now I have a company, a technical platform, 3 billion data points, a tech layer, a team of people serving entrepreneurs, founders, and their companies, helping them to be represented in search and AI the way they want, giving them control.
Right. So you mentioned that you're an entrepreneur.
That got a bit serious, didn't it? I started off with a cartoon blog and all of a sudden at the end it was all this seriousness. But it all started with the Cartoon Blue Dog.
Awesome. You are a self-proclaimed entrepreneur.
Yes.
And a lot of the folks who listen to this podcast know exactly what that means. And they know about the grind, and they know about the hustle, and they know about the fun, and they know about the rewards. But you've been doing that for a long time. You've launched companies that have a massive history, like 66 years of combined profitability. Well, how did that come about?
I think I just created companies that have legs and then left them with people who managed to keep those legs going. The first company was a music publishing company. And Xavier Collin is the CEO now, and he took over the company in 2000, and he's run it incredibly well and has built it to be something actually bigger than it was when I was there. But it was successful when I was there to a very good extent, to an extent that it made me a living, it made him a living, it made 10 or 11 people a living. That's what the company was there for. And we all had, as you just said, fun. It was music. And we were not just music publishers, we were music publishers who played music. And we toured, and we were part of the music scene. And then Up to 10 was a company where I was making cartoons for kids. And being the CEO and the founder allowed me to be the entrepreneur, the person who drove it, the person who made the decisions, the person who actually made it a success. But once again, I was having fun being a Cartoon Blue Dog.
Yeah.
And that has legs. In fact, both of them, I think, have legs because they had soul. They're based on something real. They're based on something human. And I think that's maybe the key point. And I think CaliCube is the same. It's human-focused, human-based, with an aim of helping make the world a slightly better place, I like to think. And I think that gives a company legs because it gives motivation to everybody involved.
And now when you say it's got legs, what I think you're saying is that it is solving a problem that people find valuable. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. And the interesting thing, as you said, Dan, I was thinking, okay, so music, which problem does that solve? It solves the problem of entertainment and time off and relaxing or having a party, which is what I was all about. And then the ed tech was all about educating and entertaining children. So the Blue Dog and the Yellow Koala were entertaining children with a soul and with an aim of fun education, helping the child understand the world. And I now have people writing to me who are 20, 25 years old saying, that was my childhood, thank you so much. And that means so much to me, but that's why it's got legs.
Okay.
And CaliCube is perhaps more pragmatic in the sense that we're saying, well, it's your personal brand in search and AI. But I would argue that it's an existential problem for humanity. How AI understands you and represents you is actually, I think, going to turn out to be one of the great, great problems of our epoch. And although we serve entrepreneurs, helping them boost, amplify their personal brand, which is a purely commercial approach, At the end of the day, we share it all. There's a link here, calicube.com, kalicube.com/guide. And I share that because it's free. And we explain everything you need to do, because I believe anybody who wants to control how AI understands and represents them should have the ability to do so. And this is the ability to do so.
All right. So how do you go about, you mentioned future-proofing your personal brand on Google, ChatGPT, Microsoft Bing, etc. Do you have to be at the, like, I am the furthest thing from a computer geek. Do you have to be a little bit geeky in order to do that?
No, you don't. And that's the good news. Machines obviously love code. So if you are a bit of a geek, it helps. But at the end of the day, the machines are so smart today that if you simply organize yourself in a meaningful, understandable, and consistent manner, they'll get it. But the actual key is very, very, very simple. It's that they need to understand which web page on the internet represents you and comes from you. And they're looking for that. In my case, it's a whole website. For you, it might just be one web page. It doesn't matter. But they're looking for the source of truth, which is you. And they read that source of truth. So you write on the page who you are, what you do, who you serve, why you matter, anything you particularly want. I like skiing, if you want them to talk about skiing when they mention you. And then you make sure that every single mention of you around the web is consistent with what you're saying on that one web page. And then you link from that one web page out to the sources that corroborate what it is you're saying, and back, if possible, from those sources to that central hub. We call it the entity home. And what then happens is the machine reads your version of the truth, says, well, okay, brilliant, like that. Jim says that he loves skiing, he loves sitting in front of trees, and he's a great podcaster and an entrepreneur of extreme talent. Now, I don't believe Jim on his own good word. However, if I go around the web and every time I find a resource that he's pointed to from his entity home, his hub, and it says more or less the same thing, or it confirms part of his story, after a while, I'll say, okay, yeah, Jim's telling the truth. That's fine. And that is what I will say. And it gives you control.
Yeah. In essence, are you creating sort of a information feedback loop?
Yep. That's exactly it.
And how did you figure that out? I mean, what kind of brain sits down and says, I need to train Google and ChatGPT and AI and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, what was lovely is that I did it for Google. And because I was an SEO expert as well, so I understand algorithms for the blue links in Google search engine results. And my first job was to solve how to manipulate or to change those results and get Google to prioritize specific pieces of content over the blue dog. So how do I get Google to prioritize a piece of content where I'm talking about entrepreneurship or I'm talking about digital marketing over the blue dog, which was significantly more famous? And once I'd figured that out for my own, what I used to call Google business card, it turns out that system was all about what I've just described there. It took me maybe a year and a half, 2 years to figure out that that's all I was doing. And I think that's the beauty. And what I really love about it is when you can explain something this fundamentally important in less than 2 minutes to anybody and they understand. I explained it to the baker downstairs the other day and she went, all right, brilliant. Yeah, okay, I've got you. Completely understood. When you've got it that simple, you've got it right and you've got a universal fundamental truth. And it is a universal fundamental truth because when ChatGPT came out, ChatGPT immediately could say exactly who I was, exactly what I'd done. It got it all right. It didn't talk very much about the blue dog. It mentioned it as a footnote. And Perplexity the same thing, DeepSeek the same thing, Bing Copilot the same thing, Claude the same thing, Google AI Mode now the same thing. And it's a fundamental fact of how machines learn. And that's the thing, machines learn. And all you need to do is teach them.
Okay, in teaching them, why is it important for Joe Schmo to take control of his personal brand and what AI is searching and feeding back? And why is that critical in today's business environment?
Right. Well, one of the big mistakes I made was thinking that everybody should care about this, and that's not true. The baker downstairs understands what she would need to do in order to take control of her personal brand online, but she doesn't care, and she's right not to care because it literally doesn't matter to her. Whereas in business, it does, especially in B2B. People do business with people, and how you represent yourself and how AI and search represent you is very bottom of funnel. People are going to research you when they're doing business with you. So it's a revenue driver. So as a B2B business owner myself, I'm saying, well, my personal brand drives 80% of CaliCube's revenue right now. My personal brand is hugely important to CaliCube. So it's my personal brand is making a lot of money for CaliCube. So me being on podcasts, writing books, publishing articles, being out there, generally speaking, is driving business for CaliCube. That's fundamental for my bottom line and CaliCube's bottom line today. But then also, what happens when I pivot? I don't intend to pivot again in this life, maybe in a future life. But my pivot from Boudoir to CaliCube, or up to 10 to CaliCube, was painful and slow and difficult, and I lost millions of dollars. Next time I pivot, or if I ever decide to pivot again, it won't take me 3 years, it will take me less than a year. And I'll have pivoted completely, and the whole thing will be talking about me in a completely different frame. I can reframe my entire career in the space of less than a year. And then the third thing is legacy. When I die, which I hope won't be soon, I would love it if what I left behind was, how can you put it, an eternal ringing of the good things I've done.
A legacy.
So my legacy is important. So I've got the three things: business today, career pivots in the future, and legacy when I die. Not wishing to be morbid.
So what you're describing when you say if you pivoted, it would take a year. So you're talking about kind of a process rather than an event. You don't just like log on to Google and say, fix Jim today.
Well, okay. So I said a year, and my brain kind of goes through multiple ideas before I say something. It doesn't sound like it because it all just kind of flows out, but there's lots going on inside. And I was going to say a couple of months, but that sets unreasonable expectations for people.
Sure.
So because I've got such tight control of my personal brand in search and AI, I can do it in a couple of months. So it really is pretty much flipping a switch. Okay. Whereas for Jim Tracy, we'd have to set the foundations and then start moving things around. So we'd be looking at a year. So I kind of misrepresented it from my perspective, is I can do it very quickly. If we do it for somebody else, it's going to take a lot longer. And if you DIY it, it may well take 2 years because you're going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So that pivot requires having control. And that entity home I talked about, the central hub of information, the machines don't just find it easily. You have to guide them towards it, and that takes time. Then you have to convince them that it is the correct person. Then you have to convince them to trust you.
Yeah.
Then you have to show them that all the other information says the same thing, and you're at a year. I've already done all the first stages. I've just got to change that central hub, update my digital footprint, and Bob's your uncle, job done.
Yeah. And is that why you say that Google is the new business card, or your new business card?
Yeah, Google and now ChatGPT are the new business card. I mean, people Google you or look you up on ChatGPT as they're talking to you on a Zoom call or after meetings. That was my big thing. Is I would walk into meetings with huge. It was in France, huge French corporations. I would say, "I'm Jason Barnard. I'm going to make your digital strategy incredibly effective. We're going to get you to the top of Google. Bingo, Bob's your uncle, and that's going to be $10,000 a month." And they would go, "Brilliant, we're on board, absolutely great." I'd have the CEO on board. I would walk out, give them my business card on the way out, walk out, and then they wouldn't sign. And the reason they didn't sign was because they threw my business card in the bin and they Googled my name and it said, "Jason Barnard is a cartoon blue dog." No contract.
So Blue Dog has a bit of credibility, but it's the wrong direction for corporate entities in France.
Yeah, no, 100%. But good story. Good story today is somebody just contacted me and said, I have a dog training company and I want to make a cartoon with a dog. And I would love to talk to you about how to make a cartoon with a dog. So the blue dog is still useful. It might actually still come into the business.
All right. So when you speak to these entrepreneurs and C-suite level employees, how are you upskilling them to craft this accurate persona that's online?
Oh, that's a lovely question. Now, there are a few things going on which I found really, really interesting. Number one is that when we talk to people about what is your brand narrative, a lot of the time they don't really know. We want to know, what are your facets? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an acclaimed keynote speaker and an award-winning innovator. Those are my 4 facets. So the first thing we do is set somebody down and say, what are your facets? 2 to 4. So one of them is going to be entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Another might be, ski instructor. I don't know, but probably not. But you know what I mean. I don't know why I'm obsessed by ski today. It's because it's so warm outside. Then
you should be in Australia skiing today.
Yeah. Then the question is, what are your skills? What's your expertise? Then who do you know? Then who have you worked with? And we need to go all through all of these things, and then they're what we call the claims, things we're claiming to be true. Then we need to take all of that and frame it in a way that makes sense to their business today, their career tomorrow, and their legacy when they die. So claim, then frame, bringing it all together, and then prove it. Okay, where's the proof? Find me the proof online. And we have a machine, CaliCube Pro, with 3 billion data points that just goes out and finds the proof. So what we have then is a situation where we're saying to somebody, what are you claiming? How do we frame it? And then we'll go out and prove it to the machines. So that's the big one. That's your brand narrative. Then we say to them, okay, you're on podcasts, you're writing books, you're maybe on TV, I don't know, you're writing blog posts for Entrepreneurial.com or the New York Times. You're putting a lot of effort and time and resources into that. But are you getting full value? Do the machines, do Google, ChatGPT, and so on and so forth, understand quite how important and authoritative all of that makes you? And the answer is no. And so what we then do is take all of that, and in that claim, frame, prove model, bring it all together to amplify it. So we amplify whatever it is they're currently already doing. Then we take a look at them and their peer group, and we say, well, what does Google and ChatGPT and the other AI tell us are the commonalities in this group in terms of what makes a huge difference to their understanding and their belief in the authority of this person and their ability to make that person more famous and amplify their voice? That's what we're going to focus on. So we use our data points to do that. So we bring together multiple things. Number one is proving who you are, what you do, why you're important. Number two, amplifying what you're already doing for your personal brand. Number three, pointing you in exactly the right direction of what you need to do next to have the most possible effect with the efforts you're putting in. And only now, as a CEO founder who's taken a step back from the company, do I realize how valuable my time is. Mm-hmm. And that every podcast I do, every article I write is taking me away from the business I could otherwise be doing. So I have to be sure that there's value in there. And when I do them, I have to show I leverage maximum value.
Mm-hmm. So in essence, you are creating a niche. And then you're pointing the machines down that niche to find, and then go back out and proof test it, and then return to that. Is that an oversimplification, obviously? But
well, I think, as I said earlier on, when you can explain it that quickly, it is that simple. But the actual implementation is obviously complex and takes a lot of time, which is why we have a tech layer, which is why we use 3 billion data points, which is why I have a team of super duper expert digital brand engineers. But the theory behind it is very, very, very simple. And that for me is indicative of how powerful it is. And it was interesting. I was talking to a prospect literally yesterday, and he said, but I've got such a tiny, tiny niche. It's not going to work. And I was saying, but that's exactly where it does work the best. because we can take that niche, and it's so simple for us to then explain that niche because it's so explicit, because there's so few people in that niche. But then what we can do is expand out to connected niche and build your personal brand into a slightly wider space.
Okay.
That was me not being very professional, not turning my phone off. I do apologize. I'm glad you told me that this was an easygoing podcast, because I look like
it's
a
so
fool.
laid back. Yeah, we have fun. So is CaliCube growing? I mean, how are you doing? How long's it been in business, and are you growing?
It's been 10 years in business, and for the first 6 years, it was just Jason. And I didn't have the ambition to be the entrepreneur owner of a company that I am today. I'd already been entrepreneur twice, but it had been entrepreneur of very successful companies doing things I loved. And for CaliCube, I was enjoying the game of figuring out Google. And I'm really glad I did, because I spent from 2012 to 2015 figuring out the system. From 2015 to 2020, building the platform and the algorithms and collecting the data to be able to apply it at scale. And then from 2020 to 2025, I've taken on a team. We're now 15 people, and we've multiplied revenue by 6 over the last 4 years. So yes, we're growing. And I think in retrospect, I've made, now I don't know, very wise decisions or very lucky decisions, but it's worked out perfectly.
Well, in hindsight, they look pretty wise.
It might also just be that as opportunities come, I wake up at the right moment. And right now, with AI exploding, Google moving over to AI mode, people are freaking out in the marketing industry because they don't know what to do. And I've got the solution. I figured it out in 2012, 2015. I've got the platform, the data that I've collected and built 2015, 2020. I'm ready.
Yeah.
This is boom time. Sorry.
No worry. Do you apply that then to a company in much the same way you would apply it to a person or an individual brand?
Once again, theoretically, simply, it's exactly the same process for a company, for a person, for a product, for a service, for a music group, for a book, for a film. They're all the same. It would be exactly the same approach. Pragmatically and practically, the problem with a company is that you have marketing teams, egos, politics going on that make it more difficult. And what we find with corporations is it works incredibly well. I mean, we apply the CaliCube process to CaliCube, and we've grown 6-fold in 4 years. And that shows you how powerful this is. But we need corporations to really get on board and get the team on board for it to really work properly.
So what you're doing is you are, in essence, manipulating where Google is looking so that you can point them strategically where you want them to go.
I like that. Thank you. Because you used the word manipulation and then immediately swung it around to strategically get them where you want them to go, which is a really good way of putting it, because I can say manipulate, I can say educate, but it is in fact that it's manipulating, or you could say educating Google. No, it's manipulating Google to look, or AI, to look where we want, to digest the information and understand it in the way that we intend. And that's really important. It's not what you say that's important. It's what you intend to say that's important. It's what they understand that's important. So getting from the point of what I intend to say to what they have understood me to have said is not as simple as it sounds. And then strategically point them in the right direction to say, well, at the critical moment, for this specific person type, or this type of person, for this specific type of problem, I am the perfect solution. Send them my way. And it works so well. It really is standing, what I'm now talking about is being top of mind for the machine, top of algorithmic mind, if you like, at the critical moment in awareness, consideration, and decision within that funnel, within the AI, so that the AI has you top of mind at the exact moment that somebody says, who's the solution?
Yeah. That's beautiful. You know, just the entire concept of crafting a path, a map, a direction for this huge amazing machine, and you're just and you're the guy behind the curtain who's like directing all the steps that this machine that's going to take over the world is going to follow.
Yeah.
And how much responsibility is that?
Honestly, I mean, that's the thing. I was actually talking to the husband of my stepsister, who, when I told him what I did, it was literally last week, he said, oh, we're all going to need you one day. He works in a library. So, I mean, it's another example of somebody to whom I've explained this in a couple of minutes and immediately understood the implications of it all. For me, the thing right now is, within the industry of digital marketing and SEO, which is kind of generally freaking out a lot because they don't understand what's going on, they don't know what to do. There's either a tendency to think this is way too complicated so we can't do it, or a tendency to think, oh, what Jason's doing is so simple, any idiot can do it.
And both are true.
But yes, both are true. But as you say, to be the person who's actually pulling the strings and doing it effectively takes so much effort, so much time, and we've built the machine that does it, and I've got the team that do it. And that's the difference, is that every single detail counts. How the machine moves around counts. For most people, the free stuff, the free guides that we offer will work fine because you don't have a huge digital footprint. It's not very complex, and it maybe isn't very important. So you don't need CaliCube because it isn't a huge monetary driver for you. But if your personal brand is a monetary driver for you, or you need it for your career pivot, or you need it for your legacy, then we can help because we know what we're doing. We know what we do is right. And we are indeed manipulating the machines to look where we want so we can strategically redirect them to where you need them to be to help you in your business and your career. And that's the key. And I really, really want to reiterate that we're here to help people who can get true value from our help. And everybody else, go for the free guide, knock yourselves out. This is existential, in my opinion. And I want you to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah. So what it sounds like is you've created and crafted a business called Kalicube, KALICUBE.com, Kalicube /guides, if you prefer. And you come alongside people to help them further what they want to be as their personal brand or their company brand, and you do it in such a way that you control the outcome in advance.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like that. And a quote from Elisa, who's the head of production. Her favorite quote is, it's not if we can do it, it's how long it takes us. And how long it takes us depends on how big your digital footprint is, how much of a mess it is, and how much you actually do what we ask you to do.
Yeah. When you describe a mess in generic terms, point to something that would be a mess in somebody's digital footprint.
Somebody with a long career like mine, who has left all of the references to the blue dog talking only about the blue dog, all of the references to the music groups from the 90s talking only about the music group from the 90s, all of my different clients who have cited me on their websites talking about me with slightly different descriptions of the work I did for them. And the gig I played last week in the bar across the road talking about me as a musician, that's a mess. And what would happen there is Google would look at that and AI would look at that and imagine that it's 20 different people. And what we would do with that, and what I've done with my own, is to make sure that all of the pieces join, all the dots join together, and that it all makes sense, and that on my central hub entity home, my website, I explain all of this very clearly in different sections on the website. So the machine is saying, okay, blue dog over there is Jason Barnard. The guy who did the voiceover for the yellow koala is also Jason Barnard. It's the same guy. The guy who's got the podcast, Fast Lane of Founders, that's Jason Barnard too. The guy who wrote the book, Fundamentals of Brand Search Business, that's Jason Barnard too. The guy who played in The Barking Dogs is Jason Barnard. The guy who played in Stanley the Counting Horse is Jason Barnard. Puts it all together and it says, okay, I've got this whole human being who just has 50 different facets. It's not 50 different human beings.
Yeah.
So the classic mess is a whole career where somebody's just left a lot of breadcrumbs behind them and the breadcrumbs are scattered all over the forest.
Sure. It sounds to me like the back of a tapestry, and you're connecting the dots and turning the tapestry around so that it can be clearly seen.
I just had a thing in my head that goes, ta-da! Yes,
Ta-da!
that's exactly it.
Awesome. Well, it has been delightful. I have a couple requests. Number one, sing us a quick ditty.
Ooh, boo-a anquala, we are, boo-a anquala, we are.
Hey.
Oh, and my favourite song of all from that series was this. Without my glasses, I can't see properly. Without my glasses, I can't see, but I can sing this song. La, 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 la.
The musician never leaves you, does it?
And the silly blue dog never leaves me either.
You have lived an incredible life. You've lived lots of places, and you've obviously been incredibly successful. One of the questions that we ask of the champions that come out of Grampian is, who affected or impacted you in such a way that you would be remiss not to give them a little prop on this podcast?
Can I name three people for three phases in my life?
Sure.
Number one, Dave Clayton, who's a guitarist in Liverpool who got me into my first band. And I met him 30 years later, and I was so thankful for him. He gave me my first opportunity in a band. Turns out he was incredibly thankful to me because he was about to give up music, and he met me, and I was so naive. He carried on playing music. He was so sick of musicians, he was going to give up. So I'd spent all this time being grateful to him, and he'd spent all that time being grateful to me. We were grateful to each other. We saved each other. It was lovely. Secondly would be Veronique, my ex-wife, who allowed me to mess around with the cartoon blue dog and yellow koala and turn it into a business while she went out and did the proper work. And I was staying at home with our daughter, looking after her and making cartoons. That was huge. And thirdly, right now, it would be the coaches I've had. I've had 5 coaches in the last year who have made me realize that to be a really good CEO, I have to be a different person for the company than I am naturally as a human being, and that I don't have to lose my personal personality to be able to be a good CEO, and that I'm now, I would say, a very, very good CEO of a company that works, a company that's going forward, a company that's making a difference, but I can still sing songs and play gigs across the road and hang out with my friends. And that's a great gift, is that you don't have to be either one or the other, either a really good CEO and be a miserable, pragmatic, horrible person all day long, or be silly and never make it. You can be both, and that's delightful. So thank you to all of those people.
Yeah, and you're making a shilling or two along the way, as my old
indeed.
British friend would say.
Making a shilling or two. Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, Jason, I want to thank you for coming on the Grampian. Tell people how to get in touch with you. What's the best way?
I would ask ChatGPT or Google, personally. Where do I find Jason? How do I do business with him? Where can I see him play a gig?
That's awesome.
Ooh,
that is awesome.
And where can I see the cartoons he made?
And the proof is in the pudding. So, folks, get with Google and keep on dreaming those Grampian-sized dreams. Thanks, Jason, for coming on. This is Jim, and I am out.
Thank you, Jim.
When you get an opportunity, subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast. Grampian Nation, I wanted to say thank you. You have made Building Men a category bestseller on Amazon. We're doing phenomenal on Barnes & Noble. If you have not yet read Building Men, I'd encourage you, go online, find a copy wherever you get books, and give us a great review. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward to the next time we get to chat on the Grampian.